Hi, my name is Yasu, and I live in Japan. And I talk about my experience in my channel, like how to battle depressions, finish depression treatment, insomnia, low testosterone, and uh, the two more things that I went through. And today I'm gonna answer the question, which is what triggered me to get into depression? Is it because of the any conflicts with relationships in my life, or is it because of the stress from the work, or anything? And then when you when you got depressed, when I got depressed, was it graduate, or suddenly you got depressed? That's the question. So I'm going to answer the questions based on how I see everything looking back, as well as the interactions with my therapist and then also psychiatrist. So the conclusion of this video is there is a specific event that I acknowledge, which also my therapist and then the psychiatrist kind of acknowledged, is that there was a rare tumor that my doctor found 4 years ago, and in 2023 March or April, I did a surgery. It went successfully. But I was hospitalized. But back then, I was not sure. We are not sure whether it's a cancerous or not. And then I was informed that if that became already cancer, there wasn't nothing much to do. And then this part, they cut me open here like 20 centimeter, and it controlled the 95% of the nervous system for my face. So if something goes wrong, my face most likely would go to paralyzed. It's just too many things at the risks. But at the same time, I went through, I forgot the term, anesthesia, did the surgery and everything. I think it really puts way too much stress on me, to the point that it exceeded my limit of taking stress. So it really pushed me to get into depression stage. So after I was discharged from the hospital in April 2023, I was already feeling that something was quite off about me, such as I couldn't figure out what I'm feeling, and I couldn't really understand what I was thinking. There is a disconnection between my feeling, my thinking, my cognitive process, and then me. That feeling was so off and so weird, very uncomfortable. Never felt that way before. But I was just finished. That was just right after my surgery, and I was discharged. And there's just so much pain. I was taking painkiller every day, and then like my face was so swollen. So I was just thinking that it's just because I'm tired. My body is still recovering from the surgeries and everything. And also, it took a couple weeks for the doctors to figure out whether the tumors are cancer or not. So there are just so many weird things happening back then. But getting to after the 2 months or 3 months after the surgery, still I kept feeling so weird. I couldn't really figure out what I was feeling and then thinking. And I started to having this thing that when I was reading a book or magazine or anything, and also reading emails, it took me longer to understand what's written. Apparently, like, my brain was refusing to understand. And it took me a while for me to figure out what people are actually saying. And I was responding to them without any delay, but I was not even sure what I was speaking. It's just so crazy. But everyone feels and think that I'm acting normal, except there's like bandages here, like big one. And I was telling my doctor who did surgery, but she's not sure. Everything looks fine. And then they already found out that it's not cancer yet. It's not, so it's actually good. So around late June 2023, after 3 months after the surgery, I started to seeing doctors, different kind of doctors, to check different kind of things, including urologist and then a psychiatrist. So when I saw the psychiatrist, he was telling me that you're not depressed yet, but based on what you just experienced, you're under so much stress. You need to take it easy. You already got back to work, but you need to take a rest. Which I didn't listen. In July, everything crashed. For the first time in my entire life, I couldn't sleep. It was horrible. My mental state got deteriorated, and I felt so. I feel like I'm in a dark place. I didn't know what to do, and I had multiple motivations. I kept feeling down, and two things revealed. Not revealed. That sounds weird. One is that my body had only a small amount of testosterone, to the point where my urologist was urging me that this situation is so not healthy. If it's okay with you, we're gonna check everything one more time, but we need to start doing the testosterone replacement therapy right away. And then if it's no doubt that you are depressed and you have this sleep issues, because no man should have this low amount of testosterone. So I started to injecting the testosterone since then for 1 year. Just FYI. Unfortunately, it didn't work on me. Yeah, and then also I was suffering from the side effect of getting injection of the testosterone, which was it's affecting my liver. So I had to stop anyway. And in July, there was an appointment with my psychiatrist, which was made in June when I first saw him. It was a follow-up one. I was in a very bad condition already. The doctor immediately told me that, yeah, we need to start doing the treatment based on your symptoms and everything. Effexor is what we recommend. And also let's try the sleeping pill. So I started to take the antidepressant and then also the sleeping pill for the first time. And it ended up taking a year and 10 months or so. And the whole thing took me 2 years and then 10 months to finish. That's how everything started. So, yeah, in terms of what triggered my depression, the surgery, it really pushed me to above the level of me taking stress. So it just pushed me into the depression state. And obviously my body is screaming and everything. That's why I started having insomnia, I guess. And I'm not sure about testosterone thing, but I guess under so much stress, testosterone production was suppressed, I believe. Everything is just based on the theory. No one knows what happened to me because I had no information or medical data before the surgery in terms of the testosterone and so on. So it's just impossible to figure out. But that's really triggered me. And then how I got into my depression, it was a graduate, as I explained. And I was doing everything that I could have done back then. And then looking back, there's nothing else that I can do. But I ended up getting depressions, and then I ended up doing all of the treatment, and it took me like 2 years and then 10 months to be here, to get where I am right now. But was it only surgery that caused my depression? I think the answer is actually no. We live in a world that there are a lot of stressors from work, relationship, and everything. It's just life. And as long as we manage stress, make sure the stress level is not going to go exceeding our limit, we are fine. So stress is, I'm dealing with stress, daily stress. And then obviously the surgery and everything added extra stress to me. But in general, I believe, or I think I have bigger capacity to handle stress compared to most of the people. But what makes my situations a lot uniquer, and then my unique is in the last 10 years I've been dealing with major stress situations, and it has taken majority of my capacity to handle stress. And on top of that, daily stress and everything. So I think looking back, I was always this close to get depressed. It's just that I was lucky enough to manage everything, make sure not to go exceed, until something very unexpected happened, which was the rare tumor and the surgery thing. And then what is the major stressor in my life, which took 80% or 90% of my capacity to handle stress, is the most important person in my entire life passed away 10 years ago. And it was quite shocking. I just didn't know how to handle it. So looking back, a lot of defense mechanism actually initiated without me realizing, and I tried to de-stress or diversify stressors to protect me from that shocking situations. And then in the last 10 years, I've been dealing with the stressor, try to be okay with it, but it's such a huge event, and it's just too personal, and then too much damage. In the end, I just didn't know how bad the situation or I was, because I was consumed by it, and then it just so used to just thinking and dealing with regular daily basis. To put into some context, for the first 5 years or so, I was crying every day, thinking that what if I have done such things? He didn't die, and that was my fault that he died. And logically speaking, it's not my fault at all, but I kept thinking that way to, I think, protect my mind and then the soul. I keep visiting Taiwan on the day that he passed away, crying and everything. And then, yeah, it's been 10 years. So if the surgery or the tumor thing didn't happen, maybe I might have been able to manage everything without getting into depression, or maybe not. But the final push to trigger my depression was really the tumor and surgery, which my therapist also think that way, because I was seeing my therapist for over a year, and at the end of the session, the final session, she was telling me before we are saying goodbye to each other that, Yasu, is there any possibility that his death was really the main cause of your depression? And then when she asked me that question, my immediate response was yes. And it really confirmed, not really confirmed, but that was the understanding towards my situations from my side, as well as my therapist's perspectives. So for this video, what I want to say is, run away from anything that causes you any stress, and then do not try too hard to always keep fighting stress. Please make sure there is always flexibility and in space that if something extra, something unexpected happens to you, you still have enough space to handle and then deal with it. Because life is very unfair. Nothing is predictable. Anything can happen to anyone. And if something unfortunately happens to you, yet you still have enough space or power, energy to deal with, you can really take care of yourself, both physically and mentally. But if you're always pushing, and then your stress level is always near your limit, if something unexpected happens, it can exceed your limit without you realizing it, and then everything just tumbling down from there. And I really don't want you to go through that. So please run away from anything that makes you feel unhappy, stressed in life, because we live here to enjoy our life, be happy in everything, not to suffer. Anyway, thank you for watching, and please take care. Don't get depressed. Run away from everything. Bye bye.